So you hit slideshow
Oh, thank you.
and then go back to Zoom and
Gotta keep it going.
share your
Trying.
screen.
Yeah, you have.
And then you'll have to hit slideshow again.
Zoom, Heartland,
Well, fine.
share my screen.
And start video and then share screen, start video.
Start video.
And then go to and share screen.
Sometimes I'll start a little early.
Nice.
And sometimes I go a little later.
And then hit share and then you can go back to the,
Well, my sharing my thing.
you
Oh,
can just share there and then you can go back to it and hit slideshow again.
Because I need to practice my own.
Yeah. that's
So like,
annoying.
I can't do
You've
that.
been around here a lot of people that are big. Seriously, it's crazy. Man. A lot of
And there you
network
go. I
features.
can see it.
I didn't
that's
realize
really
either.
funny.
This one lady, she told me she would tell
You're
me.
good.
Right. What do we got here? We've got some
Right.
people. Let's see some.
Sometimes
Right.
it'll pop up.
Some KW
Yeah, it'll pop up and ask if anybody else starts to. join.
Brad, Greg.
You'll get some notification and you just let them in.
Okay, first of all, it's not second that people in.
Right.
He's part of the.
And you're also not muted, right?
That's okay. That's funny.
I think they got their own
Wait,
person
can
they
somebody else
Right.
open this up from theirs and mute it and let people in? Because that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, when I go, usually there's nobody there.
What times?
I usually go at about 6.
Okay, so we've got only 3 people. Oh, yeah, look how full that room is. KW Excel.
All for you. They're all there for you.
I see, so I'm not really talking to anybody except for the one girl that's right there.
So you can open
Good
the top.
job.
Okay.
So,
So it'll just pop up the top like that.
Hello, Colin Rice. I have no idea what you look like, but I see you. Connecting to audio, so it says.
I do have. When I am.
Hey, Colin, do you have a face? Just wondering.
Dylan, but listen, I could never go to Dylan.
Colin, your mic's off.
That's- is it-
They was
it's
much
not-
more-
it's not-
This was.
But I catch
pretty
it.
hard.
That's kind of.
I'll remember that. Whatever Colin, don't answer me later.
Remember that one time I answered?
Okay, so is it just those two
You would at least get.
and the people that are clearly not really here? Is that right? Glad. So excited.
And then they'll pop up occasionally. Some
teach
people
us?
you let in, some people you don't. I don't know. I think it's how they send out the invitation. Because today's the first day that we had to actually admit people. When you did it, we didn't have to admit them.
Well, that's just because someone has set up a weight room and there should be no weight room. But if you don't set up a weight room, then hackers can get in and do whatever too.
Right.
Okay, so visiting, see you later, have fun. All right, so obviously, like, there's a lot of things that you already know and you've talked about with Tammy, which is great. When you're talking about strengthening relationships, I actually think that she is probably #1 in this office that takes care of that kind of stuff and does everything she needs to do to make sure that her relationships are strong and long lasting. Which obviously turns over to you having multiple I think transactions with certain clients. And it's kind of more than that because those people are the same people that go out in the community and talk about you. So anyway, today we're talking about qualifying potential buyers and sellers. So I'm going to move on. Obviously, this is kind of the track that they want you to follow, where you're finding somebody who's motivated. You're trying to figure out if they're actually not just motivated, but they're able, ready, and willing, which is really important because sometimes it is very sad when you get to the end and you find out there's something wrong in the process or somebody didn't let you know, and then they're not really qualified and you've already had an accepted thing, but I'll talk about that later. Anyway, qualifying buyers and sellers, and then recap AHAs, and then daily success system. So we'll talk about that. So quote here, your #1 job as a real estate agent is to find ways to get in the path of motivated buyers and sellers. Absolutely true. Gary Keller, obviously the man, has it down right there. You have to figure out who is ready to do this, who is ready to move forward on the buying and selling part. You can talk about selling your land all day or selling your house all day in passing for years, but are they really motivated to do it? And that's your job to figure out, obviously to convert that. And I don't know why I just swiped that out, but thank you. All right, so dispelling misunderstandings. What myths do you hold about finding buyers and sellers? And this is actually an interactive thing. I got some people that are here, but kind of not here because they don't see cameras, Mr. Colin and Brad. But here anyway, I'll ask you guys, like, what do you think? Like, as far as buying and finding buyers and sellers, do you have any myths about it? Or honestly, struggles about it? I mean, I don't know, like, we'll
Finding
talk, yeah. Myths, nothing scary.
Well,
People find you annoying if you call them.
yeah,
How about
they
that?
don't want to talk to you.
They won't want to talk to you. That's true. You'll hear that too. What else?
The one thing I had trouble with is just trying to get people to believe what their house is worth when you go to try to get the list with them. Sometimes they believe that I'm stretching it a little bit.
Just to get them to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. To find a true seller, you've got to get them to understand what their house is worth. That's true. I would go off of what Cindy said when she's talking about people don't want to talk, or people don't want to hear you talk, basically, or when you're having that conversation that's just a touch, which is like you calling them, figuring out what they're about. Well, how's their quarter been? When I say quarter, in your mind, it's quarter because you should be talking to them quarterly, but in their mind, it's like at this portion of the year in spring, like, how's everything going? How the end of the kids, year going, and different things like that. That's kind of where people really do actually want to talk and vent and go on forever. But anyway, let's look at this. How buyers found their agents. I think this is really interesting because it kind of tells you what you need to know. It's pretty obviously, if you know numbers. Okay, so referral from or is friend, neighbor, or relative. Out of all buyers, that's 47%. That is a huge part of the pie. Like if we drew it up there, you would see that is major referral. Then used agent previously from a transaction is 13%. Now, what does that kind of tell you? That's kind of sad. I mean, obviously the first time home buyers of that wouldn't make sense because it's the first time they used an agent. But 19% of that 13 is people that are repeat buyers. I find that number kind of tragic because you close with people all the time. So if they're not using you again, then that means that you didn't do your job as far as keeping up with them. And also it may have to do with the transaction itself and how it went. But you have other ones on there, inquired about a property they saw online, which, I mean, there's some people that pay for Zillow leads. I mean, you can, it's $400, $500 a month, but website, if you have a good website for sale, open house, signage, referral from another agent, visit an open house. So those are kind of low percentages. So really you want to target the top. Referral from a friend, neighbor, or a relative, or they are your friend, neighbor, or relative. What's up?
Hey, I have a quick question.
Quick.
So with that 13%, is that including people who still resold their house, or just people who's like, that's also including the people that just never resold it at all?
As far as what I'm seeing up here and understanding the numbers to be true, used agent previously for, like, it's that they used it to buy or sell before. So like if it's a first time buyer that bought their house, then 2 years later, they use their same agent.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, again, you find that sad because you use a lot of people. And I think that in my mind, like I started as like, I was just clawing my way, like to figure it out when I first started, real estate in 2019. And I was like, oh my God, I need the next person. But, it is really important to go back. I had that experience of that one buyer. I had one buyer that sold that did not use me, but they didn't even think of me because they were like, well, we didn't know that you were still working in this area and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, that's my fault because I should have reached out. I should have made sure I was doing that touch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also they sold their house a lot sooner than I thought they would. But anyway, I think that it's really important for you to concentrate on not just your current clients, but people that are important to you or around you. Like I went to my former workplace and I decided to treat them with something. And that was something to make sure that they like, hey, remember me, remember that I'm still here and I'm still here to help you, but also it's to show them that I do appreciate what they do. Because if you don't know, I used to be a teacher for 11 years and worked every day from like 8 to 9. And I just stopped teaching this past year, but that is obviously a thankless job. So I find any way I can to reach out, because if you don't know, teachers know a lot of people. And honestly, I've gotten a few referrals of, hey, you know, I was at so-and-so's baby shower and saw you there and heard that you were also a real estate agent. Amazing. So what's up?
So when you went back to your old job and kind of treated them,
Yeah.
do you feel like it was really successful in making leads that way?
Absolutely. I have 2 listings that are coming up, and one's in Louisville and one's in Radcliffe, and it came from me going back to my old
That's
workplace.
awesome. I didn't-
Yes, absolutely. Like, I think it's very important for you to reach out to people that you've known before. Like, it doesn't matter the situation. By the way, okay, so let's talk about that. Like, right now I'm doing a deal with someone in Lexington, and she actually sold the castle, okay, the Kentucky Castle, and I was like, what? I know. I was like, you're selling this little itty bitty house or whatever. Actually, it's not that itty bitty, but you know, and I was just talking to her, and we were just getting a chatting and talking about how she got that deal. Like, she's like, because I got both sides. And I was like, you got both sides? Like, that's amazing. So we talked, and she was like, well, he was really unhappy, and I met him at class reunion. They were at their class reunion from Lafayette High School, enjoying their time together, talking it out. And he was just talking about, oh yeah, I'm just trying to unload this castle, blah, 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 blah. Like, she's like, I'm a real estate agent, you know, and you should trust me. And she went into her little thing. She's like, you just give me a call if you ever blah, blah, blah. So when his contract was up, he did call her, and she worked really hard, and everybody really was negative and like, you're never going to find a buyer for that. You're never going to find a buyer. And she did. So obviously, if you look that up and you're a part of GLAR, you can do that about how much that was
I'm about to look
for her. But I mean, honestly, it was just a connection that she made at her class reunion. Now, if she didn't take the time to go to her class reunion, that she may not have made that contact. And I think that that's completely different. Like, that's you getting involved and reaching out to people that you know previously. All right, so that was for buyers. For sellers, this is the same thing. It says referral from a friend, 39%, okay? And then use agents previously, obviously, because you bought with them, that's the 29%. Still a higher percentage rate for those who refer, and I think that that's still true. Like, I'm working with someone right now who was going to use their own realtor that sold them a house. However, someone intervened and was like, oh, no, check out my realtor, you know, like, she was amazing, blah, blah, blah. Gave her a spiel, and she called me, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't know this woman, and she gave me a call and told me the recommendation that someone else gave, and here we are doing a buying and selling transaction, which is great. And I also, you know, I've gotten to know, I mean, I think that she likes to think that we're friends, and I think we're friends too, because we talk about all kinds of stuff other than just selling our house. Okay. Command opportunities. Okay. I know that everybody, just to be real, it's not like, you know, there are some of us, there's either A or B. Either A, you are very type A personality and you are way on top of your command opportunities, which is absolutely great, like you should be. And then you're the other where you're just, you know, like, oh, this transaction closed and I need to add all these files. Okay. Obviously, keeping up with your opportunities and logging everything into command is great. You can track things, birthdays, everything, all that stuff that you're going to get. And we'll talk about that in the next slide. All the information that you can get about your sellers and buyers. Obviously, this is the best place to put them. Keeps track. This is a wonderful program, honestly, versus you just trying to track it through an Excel sheet or anything else. This is great for you to track what potential things can be. If somebody's looking for buying, you adding them on here. If they said, hey, I may be looking to purchase in 2 months and I want to purchase something that's like, you know, 400,000, putting that in there. That's also motivation, honestly, to see it in front of you. Going to the next. So we have ahas. And again, we have some friends up here that I see, but I don't see. Colin, Bailey, Brad. Be so fun to see you. And Emma. It'd be so cool if we could put a face to it, but it's all good. When I'm talking about ahas, things that you would think about, like what comes up when you're talking about seeing the numbers from sellers and buyers. Like, honestly, when I went through this whole thing, again, it's more of a reminder that referrals are, you live and die by referrals, like any other business. Hey, Patrick, on his iPhone. Hey, how are you? Okay, we're gonna move on. So classify by able, ready, and willing. Very important again, because somebody can be motivated, but doesn't mean that they can follow through. And my screen is locked up. Okay. Focus becomes increasingly possible in direct proportion to how clear you are about what you want, when you want it, and what you must do to get it. Gary Keller again, millionaire real estate agent. I think that kind of speaks for itself when you're kind of evaluating his quotes. It's pretty direct. It's like people make vision boards. What you want to do, what do you want to happen, make it happen. So we've got a nice little Venn diagram here, willing, able, ready. So there may be somebody that's willing that doesn't have the means, the funds to do it, or maybe they're not ready to move in the next, few months. Okay, somebody that's able, that has the money, and I know somebody like this, and my God, it's every bit of me to have this conversation every couple months about investing in real estate and not just leaving, $400,000 of cash just floating. But that's sometimes what happens when you're talking to someone who's younger. Able, but not ready or willing. And then somebody who's ready, but has to be able to do it. And obviously willing, they're ready. Okay. So obviously you're trying to aim for that little tiny center, which is a sweet spot. Okay. So it says to classify your buyers and sellers. Basically, you've got A, which is able, ready, and willing to do business within 0 to 14 days. Okay, that means like hot, they're ready to start looking tomorrow. Sign those paperwork, make sure you have your exclusive buyer or seller or exclusive right to sell ready to go. B, able, ready, and willing to do business in 15 to 60 days. So they still are ready, but they've got some things that they may have to do, like clean up the thing, make sure they apply for their loans, make sure that they have their affairs in order. C, buyer and seller, able, ready, and willing to do business in 60 plus days. So it's like they've got things to do. They're interested, but they're not ready to jump on it just yet. I do think it's important to classify these people because it's like, honestly, it helps you to narrow in on what's important to get your now, this month or next month rolling. I know it goes to AHAs, but we're going to go to the next. Qualified buyers and sellers. Okay. So it says win-win, document, follow a checklist, and abide by fair housing and regulation, which is obviously no duh. Don't get yourself in trouble with your MLS or somebody reporting you. But this is great because you want obviously an equal opportunity for everybody, but a way for you to kind of track the things about your buyers and sellers. So this is a buyer lead sheet, and this is something you can look at. And I think you guys have a pamphlet that you can create your own. When I first originally joined with KW, I joined on a team and we had a cool folder and they had these cute little things and we asked these. And honestly, like it is great, but you also can take this and maybe make it into a Google form if you would like, because a lot of people like to do things that are fast and get it back to you. Which obviously tap on their phone and they can put all this information in there and then it automatically transitions that into an Excel sheet for you, which makes it easier, honestly, for you to input into your database on command. I think these are important questions. Obviously, it says name, email, street address, children's names. Okay, that is so important because you using a person's their actual name for their children, not just going, hey, how's your girl doing? How's your boy doing? It shows a little bit more care, and that little bit more care goes a long way. I know that one of the agents here was like, oh, I just had to meet you because in this chat, in this group I was in, somebody was just speaking your praises and going crazy about you and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who is that? And so I found her and she screenshot her name and it's just a former client. And honestly, like, I really made it, a thing to call her and be like, hey, how's Ryan adjusting in school? Because I knew that he was struggling where they came from. And then he came here. And then she was really worried about his new transition. And this is after they bought. And I just made sure to reach out like, oh my gosh. And the other day I just said, hey, Stella looks so grown. I need you to tell her to stop growing up. Like, those are the things like I mean, you're actually interested. Now, whether you truly want to be interested, I mean, that's how, as a teacher, I remember names, is because I want to use that student's name. I want to make sure that I make that connection with them. It's so important because nobody likes a disingenuous person who doesn't use names. Like, obviously, that's the number one thing if you're a kid in a classroom that you're annoyed with a teacher that cannot get your name. So names are important, and children's names are very, very important. They are not just like, you know, insignificant to the process. Usually the home is about them. So make sure that you connect on that level and you write down children's names to keep track of that. Anyway, going back. Now the number one question on this buyer consultation pre-qualification questions: has an agent taken you out and shown you properties? Yes, that's very important for you to ask, because obviously you don't want to infringe on somebody else's already agency that may be happening, and then they don't report that to you, which I know it's weird and awkward sometimes if someone's like, hey, yeah, I saw some other properties, and you're like, hey, oh yeah, did you sign anything with anyone? Because it is very important for you to do your due diligence there to figure out if they're represented. Anyway, is anyone else buying a home with you? Very important, because you want to know that. Like, I had someone that thought that someone was buying a home with them, but ended up not happening, but it was in their favor because then they were able to qualify for a different type of loan with a lower income in their house. Anyway, who will be living in your home? How long? So anyway, all these questions give you a better, clear thought of how you're going to qualify them, who they need to talk to. You know, most of you hopefully have someone on your phone that you can text immediately, a loan officer, someone at a bank that you can say, hey, check this out, check this person out. You know, they have these things about them. They said they have this kind of mortgage going on already, you know, blah, blah, blah. So this is important information for you to also use with who your connections are on your lending side. Okay, let's look at another sheet. You're not role playing. Sorry. If you were looking forward to that, we're not doing that. Okay. Let's be honest. Okay, so we've got communicate with your database. So like I said, this is the most important thing. And I believe that Tammy has touched on this, but I mean, at bare minimum, this left side that says 19 to connect, this is very important for you to be at least the number 1, 2, or 3 on the list of real estate agents that pop into mind. And obviously you want to be number 1, but you can't just expect to be number 1. Like, oh, I told my friend's parents that I was a real estate agent and I can't believe they didn't use me. Well, I mean, if you don't do your job as far as calling them, sending them a Christmas card, sending them a birthday card, sending them maybe an update in the market of their area, like if you don't do that, then you can't expect them to put you number 1. Like that's the biggest thing, is that you can't have the expectation to be their number 1 if you don't reach out. And again, sometimes, I mean, I hear and I get feedback that people hate emails that are just like mass emails. So it is important for you to try to individualize sometimes on whatever connect you're trying to do. Okay, so it says 4 touches quarterly phone calls. I think phone calls are the best. I think that's how you catch up with what's going on. Like, you know, when we did the giveaway for the prizes, that was the best, I think, event that we could have ran for people to talk to their neighbors, their former coworkers, their coworkers, parents of friends. All kinds of people called me. Like I touched base with one of my friends who she moved from Florida to South Carolina, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know that you moved to South Carolina. She's like, yeah, and I'm thinking about buying a house here. Wait, pause, because if you do, I can recommend a agent to you, and then obviously that's a referral on your side. I mean, I'm working on a referral right now with someone who I didn't talk to that much, but I called and talked with because I was thinking about how my brother lived out in San Francisco. She lives out in San Francisco. And then it turns out that they're looking for a home. And if you don't know, in San Fran, if you're looking for a home, that means you're spending a mil or over. So I worked really hard to find them someone they can connect with, because obviously that referral would be amazing. So just calling and talking to people reveals a lot. So make time to do those calls, whether it's in the morning for 2 hours, whether it's at night for 2 hours after people get off of work. It's important for you to do that. And also, a lot of people, if you know that they love texting, you can do that as well. Like, some people just like texting better. It is what it is. 12 touches monthly, email, newsletters, market report, video during the year. Yeah, you could definitely send out some newsletters, but again, I personally think that the more you individualize your connections, the better. I had a former client that just purchased a house that, I added her on Facebook, but then I just started seeing like weird things about her being a single mom, which was unfortunate because she was married to somebody who's in the military. And I was like, oh no, like what's going to happen? So I made it a point to carve out time in my day to go to her house, and I took her some gifts that I thought, if you're really stressed, you're going through a divorce, what you would want. And she like cried, and she was like, thank you so much. Like, I don't know a lot of people around here, and this is amazing. And you really did make my day. And I didn't just do that. And I know that people have family. I don't know if you know, but I also have a little baby that I just had, and I took him with me, and she just had a blast, like connecting, and her kid connecting with my baby. Like, it was just time that we spent for a couple of hours, but well worth, like, and hopefully, she considers us friends, and hopefully she becomes one of those people that, would speak my praises and would, speak in my favor. But also, I just like doing that because, you're meeting these people, you're helping them with a major stage of their life. And obviously, I hope it's not just, for money. For me, I thought this was way more fun to do than teaching, because A, I have the freedom to work with my kid and have fun, but B, you're meeting people who are doing huge things in their lives in different stages of their lives, whether it's divorcing, whether it's getting married, whether it's, they had a baby and they've got to move to a bigger house. There's so many cool stages, and I get invested in why they're buying real estate. And if you do that, obviously it'll translate in your numbers. On the right side, this is super extra. They're saying 36 to convert. You could go above and beyond. And it says to do more bi-weekly email, but I'm going to be honest, like, I still stick to the phone calls. That you actually making those phone calls, that's what does it. An annual event, party, movie screening together on the other side, that is a big one too. And not everybody has the ability to host at your house, and that's okay. You don't have to host something at your house. I know Tammy does a Halloween party, which is amazing, and she invites some of her clients to that. And I had a Christmas thing that was really cool, and I had a bunch of people over. I also had another party. I like throwing parties, so it's a little different for me. But the other ideas that you can have here is that you can partner up with someone, whether it's a title company and your lender, and you can have them possibly support you and having a drink hour, or you having them come and then them giving information to people. And it's like, bring a friend event. Like, there are lots of things that you could do to create your annual event. Now, I'm going to be real. It says movie screening. I don't think that that's the best way to connect with your clients, because if they come and they watch a movie and you do a movie night, there's no conversation. There's nothing happening. You not updating, nothing's happening there. Is it cute? Yes. But are you getting the best value bang for your buck? I don't think so. So just think about things like that, whether it's, a pool party or you having an ice cream party somewhere in a park. There's just a lot of things that you could do that could get all your clients together, or potential clients, if you are not at that point right now. To get people to come out and talk to you and talk to your lender. And maybe it's to also help them not be so scared to buy, because some people are really nervous to put their name on a dotted line when they don't realize that spending $1,100 in rent is not that great either. All right, down at the bottom, it says 1 to submit. A highly valued touch that solidifies the relationship you have just established and opens the door to future interactions. I would say the 1 submit, it's a thing like what I did with my buyer who's going through divorce, or maybe you are taking someone with you and going out. Like, there are a lot of ways for you to connect with people in a way that is meaningful. And obviously they feel like there's a relationship, and not just you feel like there's one, they feel like there's one. Okay. And we're moving on from this. Man, I call them Bailey and Brad in empty rooms up there. It's just really funny.
I know.
Okay, so we've got qualified sellers. All right. Hopefully you guys, maybe you guys already know this stuff, but it's quite boring for you to sit on. I don't know. It could be. Okay, qualify sellers using a pre-listing questionnaire. Obviously, this gives you information of what they want. Now, I personally, okay, if you look at the sheet, I gotta move this stupid thing.
We have the sheet. I think.
Yeah, if you look at the sheet, I mean, how did you hear about me? That's cute. That makes it easier for you to, like, if it says, hey, Jody, my friend Jody recommended you, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's good, because you can go back to Jody and obviously thank her in a way that won't get you in trouble with the board, but do something nice for that person so that they know that you appreciate them for spreading the great news about you. Where are you moving? That's important. You need to know, are they moving out of state? Are they moving up the street? Are they deciding to buy something else? Very important. What's motivating you to move there? Very important. How soon do you have to be there? Really important, because you need to know, are we talking, we only got a month to get rid of your house? Or do we got 2 months to get rid of your house? Do we have a transition period where you need somewhere to live? There are all kinds of things. If you, and I'll tell you a story in a second about this, but if you sell your home in the next 30 days, will that pose a problem for you? Yes, you need to know that and answer that question, because you don't want an issue with closing. This number 7. How much do you want to list your home for? This is a very important question. There are so many expectations, and thanks Zillow for giving all kinds of expectations to sellers. Well, you know, I logged on Zillow and I saw my house is worth $620,000. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Zillow only uses some things from the closings, but it's not necessarily everything about your house. Okay, so sometimes they have a really high expectation. Or I went with the seller and it was really awkward because I guess their parent was pumping up that their home was worth way over 500,000, and anything short of that is a lie. So that took a lot of work, because I knew going in, okay, I'm going against dad, so I've got to have all of my possible comparisons that they could look at to understand, okay, this is what anybody would base it off of, your square footage per, you know, like what is the price per square foot? You know, what are the things in your home that give value that other homes don't have? So we had to sit down and do that and make sure that they saw what the numbers really say, you know? And I think that that helped a lot. But I mean, man, knowing that they had that expectation, that gave me my homework. Like, what do you need to do? Because I had already pulled the numbers and I was like, oh, it'll be around there. But they already had this expectation. And obviously you don't, before you even get them to sign, you don't want them to be in a situation like, my real estate agent doesn't know what she's talking about and she's going to short sell us and blah, 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 blah. No, you have to show them that you're the real estate expert. And this little questionnaire helps you prepare for how you're going to do that.
I asked that question a little different.
Yeah.
I'm not, how much do you want to list your home for? Because they're going to go to Zillow. But I always say, you know, how much do you need to sell it for? Like, what is, you know, what do you need out of it?
Right.
And then, you know, take it from there. Because if you ask that question, I found that the last listing I just closed on maybe a month ago, it was an estate sale. And I was like, well, how much do you need to get out? Well, we would like 50,000 each. But if that's not a possibility, I'm like, okay. So it definitely is a possibility because they got like almost 20,000 over.
Right. No,
But,
and that's,
you know,
that's something to
yeah.
figure out, to show them, talk through, but it is important. I still do think it's important to know what their expectations are, because if
Right.
you don't know and you're just talking about what they could get and like, oh, what do you want? They still may go back and look at it and why didn't we discuss it? So then the
Right.
question is in the back of the head, like,
Well, it's just. to
I've gotta
start that
know-
conversation.
right, I've gotta know if there's any number in their head.
Right,
Period. Because if I don't know, then I can't gauge, like, things can go south really quickly, honestly, and they could call, some other
Right.
team to list their home because you didn't address something that's on their mind.
right.
And it's not saying like them gonna go, or them, sorry. It's not like they're gonna go, hey, she didn't address this and blah, 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 but it's just something that's in the back of their
Right.
mind that wasn't addressed and didn't talk about, and then you're talking with somebody else.
Mhm.
It's kind of a difference of making sure if there's any adversity, and it is adversity,
Right,
if they have an expectation that may be unrealistic or not. I
right.
think that's important. You have to find out.
Oh, it's absolutely important, but that's how I start that conversation, because I've done it this way too. How much do you want to list your home for? Oh, well, I went on Zillow and they said I can get $500,000.
Well, you need to know that they know that. You need
Right,
to know that they know
And-
that.
and I'm, okay, well, how much do you need? to
Right.
get- What do you need to move on?
Right.
And then they kind of see the difference.
Yeah. I mean,
So, yeah,
exactly. But again,
Yeah.
that is a big one. I'm gonna
Mhm.
say that you have to know if
It
they
is.
have any
I
kind of
think it's a
adversity.
different way to approach it.
Yes. Yes, and still you have to know the
Yeah.
number. Like I would
Oh.
ask, what you need out of the house? What do you need out of the house? Yes. It
Right,
sounds like, hey, I need $30,000, blah, blah, blah. But eventually you're
Right.
gonna get to that question.
yeah,
And I need to know,
right.
is it there or is it not? And again, it worked out in my favor a couple times, and I feel
That's
like
awesome.
you've gotta ask that question,
Right.
because they do. Like,
Mhm.
well, let's just say the other day, like with an investment property and we were gonna work with someone here, it's like, I knew how much they needed to get out of the property,
Right.
but they had a number in mind,
Mhm.
and I didn't know
Yeah,
that
they're
number.
two different things.
They are two different
And-
things. So if you
but-
don't
yeah.
know that they're expecting to sell for 300,000, nothing
Right.
less, then it kind of puts you on I don't want to have any contention or any kind of issue with them, because I know what they need.
Right.
And then I didn't know what they were expecting.
Yeah,
Two different
yeah,
things.
for me, that is just the introduction into that question.
Hmm.
So, because I want to know both.
Okay.
So, and it depends on the situation too. Like the other day, or well, a month ago, that was, I needed to know exactly what they needed to be able to settle his estate and all of those things, to get all that stuff taken care of. But from that, we moved on to, okay, this is what you need, but what you expect to sell it for. And they were like, oh, well, I'd like to get this much. And like I said, it was close to 20,000.
Yeah,
Is what we ended up selling for. So
that's good.
anyway.
Okay, so how much you own the property is the next question on number 8, so that you know what their mortgage, if they have any liens on the property, do they have any second mortgages on the property? Did they take out a home equity loan to pay for that pool in the back, or what else is connected to the property? And this is very important, because if you don't know that up front, or they haven't thought about anything up front, any liens, that pops up, while they're doing the title search. That means you're already in a contract. So I had a contract one time, and this is on the early part of my real estate career, where, everything seemed fine. Guy said he wanted to buy a house from his ex-wife. I didn't see any problems. She was willing to do it. I got them to sign all the papers. It was super awkward, but we got week and a half out. And the title company called me and said, yeah, your guy's got a $22,000 lien. And I was like, what? 22? And it was just random. It's crazy. And I was just like, how is this guy going to pay 22,000 when already he really wasn't bringing any money to the table? And I was just like, if I were a betting person, I would have said that property would not have closed. But we worked really hard to connect with his family in different places and his kids to pull together that 22,000, which they were very helpful and did and sent directly to the title company, and we were able to close like a week after it was supposed to. But had we had known about that lien a little bit earlier, like, and had I done my job and investigated a little bit more, I would have known that he had something, and he, you know, knew about it, but he was like, oh, I didn't think that that would pop up because I'm a buyer. And I was like, oh my God, but it did. But we definitely took care of it and was able to close. But this is a very good question for you to know up on the forehand. And if they don't know, you just tell them to go back and look at it and figure it out. Do you have any questions before we meet? And will all decision makers be there when we meet? Those are very important because obviously if you have 2 or 3 people that are on the title or on the deed, you've got to make sure that everybody is there so they understand anything you talk about. If you're going over your CMA and how much their house is worth or anything like that, gotta know. The other thing, so let's go circle back to the top just real quick before we move on to the next slide. What are you doing? Basically, what are they doing to move? And then what happens if it doesn't sell? And where are they moving? Those are important questions to ask. And I'm not gonna say, I think I would have rather, in a certain situation that I had, I would have rather them written it down than me writing down what they said. And I'll say this because you can refer back to, hey, in this questionnaire, when we talked about, you know, like what we're going to do and what you're going to do, this is what you said, and this is what we based our decisions off of. Because I did have a seller that wanted to build, and I talked about different ways that she could build without having to sell her house first. So that way they only did 1 move instead of 2. And she did not want to go that route. And she actually said, absolutely not. I can see it right now. Her going, absolutely not. That's not an option. This is what we would like to do. We'd like to sell. We're going to rent, and then we're going to build. And I was like, okay, that's what we're going to do. Wrote it down. And I asked these questions, but I would have rather her fill it up. And when we got to a point in the transaction, she started to act a little bit weird, and she started kind of backpedaling like, well, if they don't do this by this date, then we're not going to close. And I was like, oh, wait, so we don't want to sell the house anymore? I don't understand. So she kind of and she was working behind the scenes, I guess, and she figured out that she could do what I originally said to build her house. So then she was like, oh, well, I don't have to move out of my house. So she was trying to figure a way out of the contract. And then at that point, sometimes you just have to step back. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to give you legal advice. Obviously, you have to reach out to a real estate attorney to be able to do that. So it did go to the attorneys, and both buyer seller had an attorney. And after she spent like $4,000, you know, and it was really a Karen moment for her, I think, because she did, you know, like, I'm going to talk to my lawyer. My lawyer's going to make sure I don't have to sell my house. Not mad at me, of course, but very mad at the buyer. And I was just like, you know, this is kind of, you know, weird situation. But I feel like in hindsight, had she had written down all of this stuff and I was able to, hey, this is what you submitted, I think it just would have taken her back a little bit and maybe given her a different perspective of how we moved forward. And maybe it wouldn't have been as drastic as it turned out, with her losing $4,000 in lawyer fees and still having to sell her house. So do this questionnaire. It's very good for you to have that information, background information on your sellers. Okay. This is about role playing, and let me go back.
Nobody's been.
Yeah, role playing is very interesting and very good if you've got multiple people. Oh, Brad, what's up, buddy? I get to see your face in your cool sunglasses. Man, what?
I've been
What's
driving
up?
a little with the distraction.
Hey, listen, I know, I was like, this is the middle of the day. Usually people are hustling, okay? But this is very good. Thanks for turning on your camera and giving me a cool view. You're everything I thought you would be, Brad.
I appreciate that.
All right, so again, it says a touch plan between your B and C buyers. This is kind of like you connecting with them. Again, I think honestly across the board, if you're doing this consistently, and I'm a #1 fan of the quarterly calls, if that is what you do and that is all you do, you will still have positive feedback in ways where they go out and talk about you. It's just a constant reminder. You know, I went to visit an old client the other day in the Pine Valley subdivision. And then I realized that my mom's like, you know, old church friend lived there. So I was like, I'm gonna stop there by there too. And I knocked on the door and I thought maybe my mom had talked to her or something, but nope, she had no idea that I was a real estate agent. And from that, she was like, hey, my neighbor is wanting to move to Florida and she's wanting to move to Atlanta. 2 people right off the bat. And I'm like, this is amazing. So I got to talk with those people about possibly selling their home. And it was great. And I mean, you know, obviously that's what it's all about. Getting connections, making connections, getting recommendations from other people. Okay, so this right here, please, if anything you take away from any of this Ignite stuff, do your quarterly calls. Amazing. Okay, I'm gonna do the ahas. Brad, do you have any ahas about, do you call people, Brad?
Yeah, I do. I was about to call someone just now, actually. Yeah.
Hey, but instead you got on to see who was wild and crazy at 1 o'clock. Okay, so, you know, honestly, since I have you here, how long have you been an agent?
Just over a month now.
That's exciting. Okay, so you're feeling the heat of it all, like trying to drum up some business. Did you have like a prior, what was your job before?
I was an account manager for a place that I tell people it's like AutoZone, but on a bigger scale for like bigger trucks. So we sold parts for bigger trucks. So I was an outside.
You look like
salesman.
you drive a big truck. Do you drive a big truck?
Not a big truck. It's a decent sized truck.
So do you still talk to those people or do you still work there?
No, I jumped in head first here. So I do still talk to people though. So I made sure that I kept some good relationships out of it. So
Yes. Okay. So you know what? Let me go back a slide for you because I think that's important. Okay. So when we're talking about this one touch annual event party, that's your target people, the people you used to work with, right? Yeah. They probably thought you were super cool, right, Brad? So what are ideas that you like? Have you ever thought about throwing an event with a lender? Have you paired with a lender yet? Or are you on a team?
yeah, I am on a team. I'm on Josh Nungasser's team here in Columbus. So yeah,
That's awesome.
we're working on some events now. So yeah, I'll be definitely reaching out to people.
Exactly. And
have
that's the best
relationships
because yes, you can invite people you know, like, hey, come check this out. Like, you know, if you guys want to bring your wife or whoever, bring a friend, bring a drinking buddy, whatever. That is the best. Like, that's the number one thing. Like, again, I was started out on a team and he's someone who's super successful in Nashville, Eric Workman, and I'm forever thankful that he brought me into the KW family. But his thing, he does that a lot in Nashville. He's got his lenders, he's got his title company, and they do really cool events. And of course, in Nashville, you have a lot of opportunity to host cool events, lots of places, but they make an effort to do that, to thank their clients that have used them before. Obviously, that's word of mouth for that. But then getting other people, like they'll have like thinking about buying parties, you know, so that people can come talk openly, drink, eat appetizers, and talk with lenders about how to do this. Or investment opportunities, like they have investment parties, like, hey, invite these people, they can talk to someone, you know, bring contractors or different things like that, so they can think about possibly starting that venture. So that's really great that you've got someplace before that you've got some friends to party with and give you some good thumbs ups to whoever, their family members. Okay, so lead follow-ups, like following up, converting, staying top of mind, and qualifying buyers and sellers. So the stay top of mind is really what we were hitting home, and obviously that leads to you being able to qualify your buyers and sellers because they come to you, because you can't qualify people that don't come to you. That's pretty basic. So I think, hopefully, let me see if we got to. This is a touch plan. And we're not role playing. Am I going backwards? Yeah. I think this mouse is set in reverse. Yes. Okay. So this actually went pretty quickly, and that's okay because we took out all the role playing. Brad, if you were looking forward to that, I'm very sorry.
I,
Okay,
I was,
so-
but I'm driving, so it's a little difficult.
role playing, dude, call me though. Anytime, we can do that. So how has your thinking changed? Oh, you know what? Look at you. Is this your first one? Are you
Yeah.
sitting in? You're just learning this stuff? I'm sure we're gonna give you a packet. Look, Brad, we have a newbie in the room. Yeah, you're in there. Yell your
Cool.
name.
Sarah.
Her name is Sarah. She just signed with KW. So she's like you. She's gonna be a baby.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so how has your thinking changed, or what ideas and mindsets are new? I mean, honestly, how's your thinking changed about real estate over the last month?
Well, I mean, like the biggest thing for me was like I dreaded the whole lead generation topic in the beginning, but that my mindset's changed completely because I didn't really think about the internal leads that I had. I was thinking of lead as cold calling and everything else, not thinking about the
Yeah.
leads I already had. So that was a
Yes,
big aha for me.
Well, that's good. And then that's something like, hopefully, you're just starting. It's the same thing. It's like, you got to let everybody know. It's like your coming out party that I'm a real estate agent now.
Yeah.
And, you have like whatever. So whether it's like, hey, let's all go out for drinks and celebrate, that I'm a real estate agent now and I passed my test. And then during that celebration, you talk about it with everybody like, hey, anybody that's interested. And that's kind of how you get your name going. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. It says, how do you feel differently about and what was meaningful today? And honestly, you don't have to answer that because I think you do, and because you're doing your job right now. How will your behaviors be different going forward, and what actions will you take? Honestly, me personally, I think I'm going to do better about inputting into command the items that I already asked about to make sure that I forever and ever track them. Because to be real, like to think about, like earlier I was talking about children's names, like sometimes, I mean, it's great that your memory is good if you can sit around and think about what were those two little girls' names from the transaction that you had in 2019, but easier if you could just go back into your command, click, and see it, honestly. How will your behaviors be different going forward? What tools and models and systems will you use, and how will they make you accountable? So the tools, I highly recommend, obviously, everybody to look at those qualifying sheets, and you could detail it to what you want. You know what I mean? Don't take it for like, oh, let me just print these out from here. I mean, those are great starts, but I think it's really good for you to make your own, brand your own, have your name at the top, and pass those out. And obviously, being a part of the team, they'll do that for you and create a folder for you. But it's really important for it to be personalized to what you want to ask, everyone, and how you want to ask it. Okay, if that makes sense. So that's great. You should copy that.
What?
I don't know if they pay to do it, but I'll copy that for you. These little papers, and we can chat. Okay. And then obviously it says success system. This is kind of like what they want you to do every day. Have 10 conversations. Now, sometimes people are like, oh my God, that's so taxing. 10 conversations. With 10 conversations aren't that bad if you're talking about Facebook messaging, texting, calling. That's really easy. Like today, I'm probably gonna have 10 conversations. Like my husband was yelling at me because I wasn't wearing like professional gear, but I'm wearing like a tennis outfit because I've joined a tennis league so that I can talk to a whole different group of people that I wouldn't have if I didn't join. So that's kind of my way to keep conversations going with people who are outside my family and friends, and more community wise. Okay. It says 10 contacts added. That's easy to do if you're walking around and joining different things. So are you in CrossFit? Are you in anything? What do you join?
Golf leagues, a couple little small.
Hey, you golf? How
Yeah.
good are you? What's your handicap?
Not very good, but I enjoy it, so it's fun.
So you're beer golf. That's okay. That's me too. Okay. So you're joining golf leagues. What else?
Like we have a weekly poker game with a group of guys. So that kind of stuff. Yeah. Little community stuff.
Yes. So the more things that you get involved in, the more contacts you can add. I mean, that's obvious. I say CrossFit because you look like somebody that would go CrossFit, but that is a whole cult in itself. It's totally like hate yourself while you're doing it, but they do a good job of like really staying connected and supporting each other. And I think that that is awesome. So that's another idea, join a really close knit gym. And that's another whole, set of people that you could have contacts with that could get to know you. And then 10 handwritten notes. I think those are super cute. Tammy's really good about that. I write handwritten notes to people that I think really need it. And again, like I said, I don't know if you were on when I was talking about, like my client that is going through a divorce, and I was really sad for her because I just remember picking out the house and them being really excited, and it was literally less than a year later they separated. So, I mean, I thought she needed a note, so I went out and bought a card, and I wrote her a card, and I got her, a massage or whatever, and I thought, she just needed some mommy time by herself. So anyway, that's just things that you could do. Pay attention to your clients and what they're going through so that you're connecting to them and their lives. Obviously, social media engagement, be on your social media game. I don't know if you are, but do it because it's worth it. There's some people that post every single day to their story 10 times a day. Now, I can't do that. Like, I'll post my child and a picture of him maybe 10 times a day, but I can't do that. But it is important for you to at least post something. Do something that's like you, like whether it's like truck time with Brad, okay? And maybe you're just driving and you give your insight about today, about what you're doing today, or about what you're going to say today, or what you're gonna, what's going on in the market today. Today I'm working with blah, So that's just something else that could be your thing, like every day. And then people are like, truck time with Brad. Okay, and if you call it that, you remember where you figured it out.
I absolutely will.
Okay, so continuing on, this is I'm pretty sure I'm clicking everywhere. Sometimes it gets logged up, which I think it has. Did you see that? Oh, okay. The dreaded do not call list. Have you talked about this, Brad? And Colin and Emma. Maybe they'll be brave and turn on their things, but they also can be asleep. That's what some of my kids did in Zoom class. It's pretty funny. Okay. Warning, do not call list. Okay. Make sure that you are checking if you're doing cold calls again, make sure that you are checking this out and putting that number in there and checking to see if somebody is on that registry. It'd be so terrible if you're just calling somebody and they're not. So this for me, like, you're not going to call people you don't know unless you're calling like expired listings or for sale by owners and things like that. And I think you have to get creative about how you open up that can of worms. I know that the person who joined their team, their way of calling their for sale by owners was just to talk to them and say, I have an interested buyer, blah, blah, blah. And can I check out the property? And they went and checked out the property first. You get to know the person and check them out and do a video conference with whoever to get a feel for the house and then make a connection with the seller and then contacted them at a later point about how things were going with their sale. But this is important because obviously we don't want you to get sued. So make sure you pay attention to if someone's on that. I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution and people are happy to be in a relationship with me. That is a good quote because again, no one likes anyone that's disingenuous. Like, hey, my name is Brittany and I just wanted to talk to you today because I want to figure out how you're doing. Do you want to buy a house? Like, it can't feel like that. It's got to feel natural. And like, there are people that try to hustle in that way and you're like, buddy, like, chill out. Because I know this person that sells like skin cream and I literally don't know if he's ever messaged me anything other than, hey, I have a special going on right now. And I'm like, do you want to know how I'm doing? Like, you know what I mean? Maybe I don't want skin cream because I'm having rashes or maybe, like I'm dealing with high blood pressure from my pregnancy. And anybody gonna ask? No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so I think it's important for you to make sure that your conversations are meaningful. And that's why I said, you can send a bunch of emails, you can send a bunch of newsletters. Sure, But I don't think that that's what really does it. I think it's if you're talking to someone on the phone and you're trying to figure out how are you doing? Like during COVID, that's what I did in 2020. I just sat down and I opened my phone since I didn't have anything else to do anyway. And I just called people and I was just like, hey, how are you? What's going on? You know, and I found out some people that lost their jobs. And I found out some people that lost family members. And I found out people that, you know, like were really struggling mentally with it. And it's just getting to talk to people was good. And touching base with them was good in that way. And it wasn't necessarily like, hey, you want to buy a house? It's just I'm keeping a connection with people that I know and actually learning about them and what's going on. So make sure you're doing that. We've got role play again, but again, you can call me later for that. Prepare your conversation list. I think they want you to do this for a while, but obviously I want you to go hustle on your own and do what you're gonna do. Okay, carpe diem, take the day. But I hope that you guys go through that slide or they go through your booklets and make sure that you do keep track of the questionnaires. And also make sure you're just doing your calls. Make sure you're calling people who are close to you so that you don't get your feelings hurt when, you know, seriously, like a friend's parent like decides to live with someone else, you know what I mean? Like that is important, number one, for you to take care of the house. I feel like that's the house. Take care of the friends, the family, and people you know. So anyway, that's that. I know it's supposed to last forever, but it's an hour and I think that's all that's necessary for this. So any questions, Brad?
Nope.
All right, well, hopefully someday, some event, I'm gonna get to meet you. Now, Colin and Emma, I don't know if I'm ever gonna meet you, and I don't know if I'll recognize you because you don't have your camera on, but either way. Oh, Emma reveals herself. Okay, Emma.
Sorry, I've been doing
Nice
other work as well.
That's okay. Listen, it's all good. Okay, so for real, those are my main things. Like the takeaways is when you qualify potential buyers and sellers, the way you get to that point is by making sure that you know them first and you get them first. And then after that point, make sure you have those sheets so that you know where they're going to go next, like what you have to do to get them ready. And that's originally what I was going to do, but I didn't get to do that today. So, but that's okay. But anyway, Brad, hope to see you at some events. I don't know, maybe family reunion or whatever. And Colin, 2 thumbs up. All right, peace be with you. You have fun. Go sell a house. Oh, you know, my husband. Hold on. I was supposed to post this. I don't know if I can post it on here, but maybe I'll email it. He sent me, I don't know if you know the scene, but it's an Alec Baldwin scene. Actually, it's probably not KW appropriate because it's pretty funny. But
Coffee
it's-
closer scene.
the Glenn Ross, have you seen that? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Go motivate yourself by that. Okay. Yeah. ABC. Always be selling. No, just kidding. All right. Have fun. Peace be with you. Sell a house. Sell 2. Sell 3. Sell many. Good luck. Godspeed, everybody. What did you say? Look at that KW Excel Realty and Synergy. There's so many people there. Wow. Why did they even open the camera? You literally can see in there and you can see off the screen and you can see the computer reflection to the screen, to the room, and you can see there's absolutely nobody there. It's really funny. Okay, well, this is me being recorded and signing out here, talking to all the empty desks and people.
Why are those
And
there?
hope you have a great day. Oh, there's a person walking across.